Well, the top focus this evening is a Telangana High Court order which comes as a setback for the BRS on the case demanding the disqualification of 3 MLAs who won on a Bharatiya Rashtriya Samiti ticket in the 2023 Assembly elections and later shifted over to the Congress. Several such MLAs, remember, have jumped ship and the BRS has been demanding that they be disqualified by the Speaker of the House as per the anti-defection laws and Supreme Court orders. A division bench of the Telangana High Court today asked the Speaker to decide the issue in quote-unquote reasonable time. The bench set aside an earlier single-judge order asking the Speaker to announce a schedule to hear the disqualification petitions within 4 weeks and that inaction to do so is subject to judicial review. Telangana MLAs have been notorious, remember, for shifting sides after an election, and the BRS, which benefited from all of this when it was in power, the Congress, which cried foul then, is now the beneficiary. The issue of disqualification and inaction of speakers on the issue is one that's had nationwide resonance, especially, remember, in cases like in Maharashtra and Karnataka in the recent past. So the big question, will the Telangana disqualification demand reach its logical conclusion, and what is quote-unquote reasonable time? Joining me this evening, my colleague Uma Sudhir, who's tracked that case very closely, KV Dhananjay, advocate at the Supreme Court, Ravula Sridhar Reddy of the BRS, NV Subhash of the BJP, and because the Congress did not want to join this debate, a pro-Congress political analyst, Syed Asad Abbas. Mr. Dhananjay, first to you, give us the definition, if there is one, of reasonable time and where the law and legality stand as far as this case is concerned, because this is not the first time that the Speaker's decision has come into the realm of the courts. We'll try and get across to Mr. Dhananjay in a bit. Uma Sudhir, give us an overview of the case itself. Remember, this is not just about Telangana. It's been, cases of this nature have come up in other states and gone before the courts. Is there a clear understanding of reasonable time?
So, BRS Working President K.T. Ramarao claims that the reasonable time has been very clearly defined by the Supreme Court. He says that 3 months is a time that the Supreme Court has said the Speaker can take as a reasonable time. As you recall, this had started after the elections of 2023 in which, of course, the Congress got a majority. But at that time, the BRS would be mocking them, saying that you have a slender majority. And subsequently, it was also, in a sense, should I say, revenge time for the Congress, because during the BRS first term and the second term, all the opposition parties had suffered. As many as 60 legislators, both MLAs, MLCs, they had shifted loyalties, and the Congress even suffered the humiliation of a legislature party split that happened and the merger that happened of the legislature party with the BRS. And therefore, the Congress in that sense was, it appeared as though they were proactively allowing or calling in the MLAs from the BRS, and the Congress leadership would, in fact, even Revanth Reddy would mock the BRS leadership, saying that we are going to empty out your party. And then they started, of these MLAs moving in. As many as 10 MLAs shifted loyalties. Some of them, like Danam Nagendar, even contesting as Congress candidate, MP candidate from Sikandrabad, even though he was elected as a Khairatabad, MLA in the 2023 elections from the BRS. There is Tellam Venkatrao, who went and met Revanth Reddy soon after the results came. Then we also have Kadiyam Srihari, whose daughter was first given a ticket by the BRS, and then she shifted loyalties to the Congress. So right now, the debate, of course, the politicking is happening. Each of them saying that, the BRS is claiming that this is a victory for them because the Speaker has been now told
I just want to interrupt you for a minute. Just hold that thought for a second, because I think we can go across to Mr. Dhananjay to just give us an overview from the legal point of view, sir. This reasonable time, as it's been spoken of before, is it still delightfully vague in legal terms, or is there a categorical, clear understanding of reasonable time that's been given to a Speaker to decide on disqualification demands for those MLAs who have shifted sides? Because this is not the first case we're going to see, and this is definitely not going to be the last such case that we're going to see.
Well, I've read the judgments of the learned single judge. It's very well reasoned. It's just that the learned single judge did go slightly outside of the established norm and said that he would want to have a schedule of hearing before the speaker, and that schedule to be specific to the next 4 weeks. I think that was a certain degree of intrusion, but that could have been corrected by the division bench by following what the Supreme Court, in fact, has done. More recently in 2020, the Supreme Court did three-judge bench of the Supreme Court did say that 3 months would be a reasonable time for the speaker to decide on disqualification petitions. And if the speaker chooses to not do so, then the courts could intervene and then issue appropriate directions. Again, these directions are not going to be in the form of we direct. Most often it is we request. So the division bench saying that the speaker should decide within a reasonable time, I think may not be quite consistent with the established law. And therefore, this matter is most likely to also travel to the Supreme Court. And should it travel to the Supreme Court, the fact that the Supreme Court in past instances has directed the speaker, and more so in this case, it's been months together. I think it's almost 5 months now. There's just no justification for any speaker to take 5 months to decide on a disqualification petition because as lawyers, we certainly know the complexity in legal cases, but disqualification petitions, the disqualification subjects are relatively straightforward. They don't really have that much of a complexity inside of them because the 10th schedule, gives very small number of circumstances where disqualification would occur. So in this case, it is not that the persons, people, BRS MLAs have in fact resigned from the party and joined the Congress. It is but by their conduct, they could be seen by a common man as having voluntarily given up membership of BRS. So the conduct in this case would be the public appearances and then public utterances and all that. So I don't think the speaker can possibly argue that he would want 6 months or a year to decide on a matter like this. So I think the learned single judge was justified in intervening, but not really justified in setting that rigid timeline. Because how the speaker would decide is certainly not for the court to, intrusively interfere with. Like the learned single judge said, 4 weeks. So I think this matter is going to the Supreme Court, and this will have a swift resolution. I can assure you that much.
Point here. Yeah, you're making a very nuanced point here. You're saying that it will have a resolution. Eventually, the matter would perhaps go to the apex court to decide on reasonable time and ensure that a decision is made. Mr. Ravula Sridhar Reddy, the BRS had benefited from defections. It's the reality of Telangana politics. The BRS has benefited from defections between 2014 to 2023. Now the Congress is a beneficiary. Whoever is ruling in Telangana will benefit from defections. Is that, is because you did not bother about it at that point of time that it's come back to bite you now? Your response?
No, then in the last term, when we have taken the MLAs, their legislature party merged into BRS party. So we can't, one cannot call it as a, defection or they have changed the loyalties or something like that. Now, individually, each MLA has joined Congress party. Few say sometimes they joined Congress party. Few say that, we have just, met them and kind of stuff. But end of the day, the court today, it's as if directing the speaker, rather reminding the speaker of his constitutional duties. Though they have not set any deadline, or though they have, given a verdict saying that we cannot set a deadline for the speaker, but the moment they say that he has to, complete his task in a reasonable time. So reasonable time lies with the speaker. The moral responsibility lies with the speaker to ensure the defection law is not completely discarded. And it's their responsibility now. Now, as the speaker was saying, we will definitely. Hello. Hello.
No, I'm interrupting you. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you. I just want to bring Uma Sudhir into this. Uma, this is the larger reality. Let's leave the legal point aside. Well, yes, matter will go up to the apex court. It will possibly get sorted at the legal level or perhaps by the speaker itself. But the reality of Telangana politics remains that defections to the side which has won an election is not an exception but the rule.
Absolutely, and it is not just limited to Telangana. We have seen it in several states now that this happens, and this is not something that the anti-defection law as it exists is able to address. And many people had welcomed when Rahul Gandhi had announced in his manifesto that if we come to power, we will bring about changes in the anti-defection law such that there is an automatic disqualification if somebody decides to shift parties after they have won an election from one party. But the irony is that the Congress itself is indulging in similar kind of politics here. Earlier, when Mr. Dhananjay was speaking about it and saying that for several months the Speaker is holding the plea for disqualification, what I must point out is that technically the Congress says that the Speaker has not been handed over the letters at all. They are still with the Assembly Secretary, and when the single judge order in fact came, at that time also they said that, once the secretary hands over to the Speaker, it should be reasonable time of 4 weeks within which the schedule should be drawn up about what happens next vis-a-vis the plea itself. But you're right, it is politics that is playing out, because we have repeatedly seen now, Revant Reddy mocking the leadership of the BRS.
We need to just get a quick response from the BJP and the Congress as well, and the pro-Congress political analyst. Uma, I just want to get a quick response from Syed Asad Abbas and NV Subhash of the BJP as well. Mr. Subhash, it's the reality, as Uma is pointing out, of Telangana politics. Very quick responses from you, and then to Mr. Abbas, the last word.
Yeah, from 2014 to 2024, we have seen when the Telangana government was in power, they have taken so many MLAs, including the Communist Party MLAs, and then they have shifted the loyalties. And now, the BRS party, when their MLAs are shifting, they have gone to the court. But when the court has given a reasonable time, it is the prerogative of the Speaker to take a decision. But how long? How long he can keep the file with him? So the Congress party is very, very instrumental in getting, when Rahul Gandhi, Rajiv Gandhi was the Prime Minister, he was the person who brought anti-defection law. Since the Congress party is ruling in Telangana, it is their moral responsibility to take the decision immediately, so that, the disqualification, or, they have to resign. The Bharatiya Janata Party, from so many years, we have been telling that party, the MLAs, when they're shifting, they have to resign and then come to the party, then get re-elected if they have to come. But the leaders from both the parties, from, the Congress party and, the BRS party, they have their political interests, the business interests, the family interests, so many things are attached to it. That's why they are the shifting. The second point is that the parties which are being getting elected, they are getting very, very mere majority. Out of 119, they got the 64 in 2014. But now, the Congress party, out of 119, they got only 62. This is the insecurity. They feel that their own party men will dethrone Mr. The Revant Reddy. So he has opened the floodgates to everyone, so that from other political parties they can come. But to have a very good practice, to have a president,
Syed Asad Abbas, the issue is,
the decision.
As a political analyst, the Congress crying foul in Karnataka and in Maharashtra, but you resorting to the same tactics in Telangana. Would that be a fair assessment? You have the last word.
No, not the fair, Veera Saab. As a matter of fact, I've always believed with great power, there is great responsibility, there is equal accountability. The fact of the matter that we are discussing the time limit, be it 4 weeks or even a reasonable time, let me go as per the 10th schedule of the 52nd amendment of the role of Speaker during the anti-defection law. Let me state the law. There is no time limit as per the law within the presiding officers. Therefore, it should be decided upon a plea for disqualification. The courts also can intervene only after the officer has made a decision. So therefore, with due respect to Mr. Reddy here, the BRS representative, many a times we've seen over the last decade, many of their MLAs jumping ship. It is absolutely okay when they have done the same. Let me address the point. The 3 MLAs jumped ship when elections were held in November last year, but they jumped in April this year. That is a 5-month gap. He also needs to understand what action did they take against their MLA Kaushik Reddy, who said that defectors, he made a sexist barb, a very misogynistic one, saying that they should wear saris and bangles. Absolutely no action taken. This kind of behavior encourages. K.T. Rama Rao ji really needs to step up. When he speaks of women empowerment, when he speaks against various other controversies, you don't do anything about it. Respected sir, you need to understand, aap kare to theek hai, Congress kare to galat hai. What kind of duplicity and hypocrisy is this, sir? And let us understand, you cannot set a
10
limit
seconds,
here.
quick response from you, Ravula Sridhar Reddy. Given a quick response from you, and then I have to wrap this conversation.
After seeing all this in your national manifesto, rather, during the elections, Rahul Gandhi says that, they will bring out a law if they come in power in the center.
Okay.
Rahul Gandhi says something and Revant Reddy does exactly the reverse, and you're trying to teach us. See, the question here is, what are you preaching and what you're doing out here? The double standards.
You didn't answer. What action did you take against Kaushik Reddy for
Kaushik
such a
Reddy-
remark,
Okay, you're
sir?
saying
See, has spoken
Okay.
that, and from the party side,
I-
we would have warned or we would have not warned. I mean, you will not be able to know that.
all
Sir,
issue is
it should be
we are
made
discussing
public.
defections out here.
All right, we'll have to leave this conversation right here, but there are final legal issues that have been raised as well. Dhananjay gave us a very nice overview of this entire issue. Uma gave us a fascinating political overview of the realities of Telangana politics. We'll keep revisiting this issue.